So anyway, you've watched the video. I don't think it actually like you saw much on it, to be honest. It was just us messing about and me realising that the...
Wasn't it wonderful?
No. It was awful. It was an awful experience from start to finish. It was novel, throwing away twice as many pellets as normal to hit a tin can. Just seems a waste of budget. So it sort of seemed a bit of a waste of lead, in my opinion, to be honest. I can imagine if it was done right and it was done, it'd be interesting, but still not much point.
Maybe we're finding out why they didn't sell.
You definitely find out why they didn't sell. The trigger wasn't very good either. It was like, and it's definitely not 12 foot-pounds. It might be 12 foot-pound for both barrels, but anyway, that's it. I'm not saying any more about the Beeman Duel.
We're off the hook with the Crown Prosecution Service.
Yeah, that's right. It wasn't very good, but there you go. Right, ever onwards. We have something. You, the viewers, have been asking for us to do some older guns.
Yeah,
as
some
well,
older guns, and we've had some sort of mixed suggestions as to what to have. And
I think it's a really good idea because we were talking before, weren't we? And said that most people don't really want to cover old guns because they want to
commercial interest
because of their commercial interest. They want to be promoting the new stuff, and there isn't there's not a massive amount of old gun stuff on YouTube really, not enough I don't think. No. So we took your suggestion. You certainly have, because you brought something really interesting.
Well, we mentioned, I think, on the last show that we were talking about the Park, and I said, I have one of those, and I think I slid in somewhere. And somewhere was a good question because I had no idea where it was. And it turned out I'd lent it to a friend something like 9 years ago.
Right.
So I rang him up and said, have you got it? He said, yes. And it was still in the box. I'd lent it to him and he hadn't fired it once. So here we have it, a Park Rh91. Very interesting and technical rifle. And no, there's never been another review on this because I think this thing came out before videos were invented. So it's probably.
I think it did actually come out in 1991. I think that's where the number scheme came from.
Yeah.
Was it Roy Hutchinson?
It was a Roy Hutchinson gun. The incredibly inventive and talented Roy Hutchinson did a series of rifles, including the Sterlings. He did an awful lot of work for, everywhere. His influence is right across all air guns. There hasn't been a whole lot of spring piston design since Roy, to be fair. And this is an opposed piston air gun, but using a slightly cheaper and more novel way. I mean, everybody kind of knows about the Wiscombe, don't they? Where it's geared.
Well, hopefully you know about the Wiscombe. Why don't you just quickly explain the twin opposing piston idea?
So what the idea is on a spring gun, usually they have a Lincoln Jeffries patent, which is that you have a piston flying forward. It compresses air very, very fast through a transfer port, and that pushes directly down the barrel and the pellet goes on its merry way. But you have two forms of recoil. You have the initial inertia of the piston flying forward, then you have the compression and the pellet leaving the barrel with that air compression. So you have a recoil forward followed by a backward recoil, and that's what destroys scope reticles. So on the cheaper scopes, if you wonder why your scope fell apart after 50 shots, it's that two-way recoil, whereas on a conventional firearm they can recoil like mad, but it's in one direction, that's back towards you. And the two-way recoil, the first part of the recoil, of course, is before the pellet leaves the barrel. So that's why holding an air rifle, spring piston air rifle, is so tricky, because you're actually absorbing recoil before the pellet is discharged. So you hold it tight, one shot, loose one shot, standing one, kneeling, you get different points of impact, different fall shot. So if you can make a spring piston air rifle recoilless, then you can reduce that effect. In other words, you don't have to be such a good shot. And that's what Roy did in this rifle. This one has two pistons flying towards each other on what looks like a suicide mission, but the cushion of air that's between the two slows them down enough so that when they touch, there's not an explosion of metal parts, and the air is squeezed up a transfer port, but interestingly in the middle of the rifle, because you've got two springs and two pistons flying towards each other, and therefore instead of the transfer port being at the back as it is on a PCB, or near the back on a PCB, or right at the front as it is on a spring rifle where the piston flies forward on one long stroke, you have two small pistons flying towards each other. So you have a conventional bolt and a transfer port in the middle of near the middle of the rifle. And the air is squeezed up, gets behind the pellet, which is blocked off by the bolt, and the pellet goes on its way. And these two opposing forces cancel each other out, and you have a recoilless air gun. so it's easy to shoot.
And it does work actually.
Yeah.
We used to sell these when they first came out,
Yeah.
and there was a few things I noticed. There was a little bit of sort of a residual something. I don't know whether you know when you shoot them. There's
You've
definitely
got a lot going on mechanically. You've got two pistons with friction going against each other. You've got two springs uncoiling. You've got a long sear because the trigger's back here, but the sear's somewhere up there. Oh, it's back on one. It's holding on the other, isn't it? Holding on the chain on the other. So you've got all sorts of mechanical forces taking place. It clatters like mad, and you feel that because your head's right by it.
It's funny. I wouldn't. When I shot these, which Jen was quite a few years ago, I didn't think there was anything much, but I just felt there was definitely something. There was a little bit of a tingle, or and it didn't really detract from the shooting. It just felt different.
Yes.
And I think that was maybe one of the things with this rifle that led to it not being as popular as maybe it should have been, because there was a few novel things on this, and I don't think, sometimes when something comes to market and people aren't ready for it, I think this rifle was probably a little bit ahead of its time in some ways for the sporting shooter.
I'll go along with that.
We've had these rifles for many years for target shooting.
Yes.
I mean, Original did this sort of rifle, and Wiscombe and a few others. But this was more mass market, and I think for the mass market, people were just a little bit taken aback by certain things. One of them was the motorcycle chain. Hopefully you can see this.
We're coming close on this.
We're coming close, but actually, when you cock it, it's actually cocked with a motorcycle chain. That's there.
There we are,
as you can see.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, it really did people's heads in at the time.
They didn't like it.
They didn't like it, and it's funny, isn't it? Because the amount of stress that motorcycle chain is under in comparison with being on a motorcycle is nothing.
No.
And so hence it's a fairly good system, and funnily enough, they have stood the test of time, these, because I've seen old ones about, and if there's an issue, it's never with the motorcycle chain. But I think that's what put a lot of people off.
You can't dry fire them because it requires on the back pressure of the pellet to give you the right level of force. So dry firing these would be a good way to destroy the rifle. They were a little bit rough on the finish, but this one's pretty good. Actually.
That was all right, actually. Yeah, I think that the early ones were a little bit rough.
They did. What actually killed this rifle wasn't actually a lack of sales. It was a thing called the Gulf War. The company that made them was based in Dartford, and they did lots of contract work. And they had a member of their team want to do an air gun, and he tied in with Roy, and they did the gun. This is hearsay, but I understand how it worked. What I've been told, and it was the boss's son. He wanted to do an air rifle. They did projections on how many they were going to sell. They put it into production. They had a few teething problems. Sales weren't going that well. The teething problems cost them a bit of money, and then they had a huge order for machine gun mounts prior to the Gulf War, and they just took them out of production and put it over to military production.
Never
went back because the sales. They went, you know what? Let's cut our losses now.
Yeah.
Who's to say if they'd have carried on whether they'd have got some momentum with it?
Like anything, to be the first model you produce has probably got some rough edges and needs a bit of fine tuning. But a Mark II one of these could have
done it.
Could have been
maybe even the Mark I with a little bit more time in the market.
I thought the concept was excellent, and it was a very brave and bold manoeuvre to do this. Also, as well, you've got a nice little interesting touch there in that this lever doesn't release until you pull that forward a little bit.
A very elegant way of locking up a lever, isn't it?
Which is absolutely lovely. I really like that. Obviously, that reminds me of the Sterling HR81.
There's going to be some synergy with his previous designs.
Definitely, and they did. And I tell you what, they did as well. That was a lot nicer. They did a walnut version, didn't they?
Yes.
Which was that the 93?
I don't know if there was a 93. I have seen a
Or was it
picture
just the
of
91?
Just
It was the
91
91 walnut, wasn't it? Yeah, and I actually saw the walnut ones, and the walnut ones. This looks a little bit utilitarian. It looks quite basic.
Yes.
And it looks cheap, and it wasn't a cheap rifle.
No, not at all.
But when you got the walnut version, it actually did look like a much more expensive rifle. I'd love to. It's a blast from the past. I really wish we would have, they carried on in production, but there you go.
The Springer market's pretty staid, isn't it? Apart from my beloved Duel we had earlier, it's just there's not much innovation going on really.
No.
A lot of it, everybody's copying the same old thing. I mean, how many versions of the TX, Fire Arc, are there? You know, how many times that particular design, that Hinel design, going to be copied? So it's I know it works and it's a clever design, but let's see a little bit more innovation, a bit more something like this.
Well, I mean, Air Arms had one of these. I think we've spoken about this before, about Air Arms having a brake barrel recoilless on a sledge.
Yeah.
They had that design. I saw the pre-production prototype, must have been about 12, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw it, I ordered 20 of each, and I said, you know what, that is an absolute, because it looked like a Fartbow Sport, but it had the TX200SR recoiling sledge underneath it. And I still believe that the market is ready for that.
Well, how about it, Air Arms? There you are. You've got an order for 20.
You've got an order for a damn sight more, because I think now people are clamouring for something a little bit unusual.
Still a huge following for spring piston air rifles. There's no question about it. That most people would prefer to dispense with the bottle. Obviously, they're fabulous to shoot PCPs, and they're so accurate. And once you've got the gear, you're probably not going to go back. But there's still a big.
There is a market, and actually, I've noticed there's quite a lot of guys who have PCPs. Who want a Springer as a backup gun, but they don't want anything. They don't want a cheap Springer.
It's a hobby. You have something different.
Exactly. They want something different. So, Air Arms, please make that sort of recoiling sledge brake barrel recoilless thing, and it was absolutely fantastic. And I can't believe that we haven't seen anything like that. So, you know, something
since
with this
1991.
design or a sledge design, you know, let's do it, and let's give the airgun market something like unique that's not a PCP for a change. Anyway,
that's mine. That's what have you brought, Lloyd?
Well, I didn't bring much, but I brought something that I thought you would be able to talk about. I brought, and I got told off as well because I called it soft air and it's airsoft. I'm really sorry. Evidently, it's like quite important. So I brought and also as well, this is available in a pistol, but I brought the Webley MkVI service revolver. It looks, and this is a slightly older model, but like I love this gun. It's steeped in history. It's almost identical to the air pistol version. So all you've got is it's just, look at that, it's just lovely, and that comes out, and you've got the little cartridges.
And they sell a speed loader for it. Don't you can buy the cartridges with the.
Don't you think though that a speed loader with a Mark 6 is just wrong? I mean, the only thing that this should come with is a pipe. Really, but not a speed loader. Speed loaders speed loaders are wrong. But so basically, you got the cartridges. This one takes the 6mm airsoft pellet in the front, but they do a 177 BB version.
That's the one that tends to sell now, isn't it?
Well, the one that really sells is they did a pellet one as well with a rifle barrel and the pellet, which is just is fantastic. What a beauty! I don't know. There's something about.
Yeah, I mean, when they first, that's about 3 or 4 years ago, they brought this pistol up for the first time, and it was stopping traffic at shows, wasn't it? I mean, it was just something everybody wanted to see.
It's absolutely
what a clever
gorgeous
thing to do.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely lovely. We've just started to sell. I don't know whether you won't have heard of them. There's a company called Kimpo Shop. And I saw their grips on the internet, and they're gorgeous, wooden, all proper. So it's do you know what? I should have brought a set of wood grips to show people today, but we're importing these Kimpo Shop grips, and they do them for Dan Westons and Peacemakers. But the Mark 6 one, that like just looks absolutely spot on, and they do these in silver as well.
And they do a weathered one as well, don't they?
They do a battlefield finish, battlefield finish Mark 6. And kudos to Webley actually for bringing out something that probably is a bit more niche. You know, they didn't go for something that everybody would buy. They came out with something that was
how many versions of the Colt 45 or the Colt Automatic, or you know, there's just millions of different versions of it. But there's only one company doing this, and the right company as well, the company that owns the name.
Exactly, and actually, I think they've done a really. Little features as well. There's a little tiny safety catch there on the side. That's so sweet.
Yeah,
you know that they put something like that.
Totally unoriginal.
Totally unoriginal, but like a necessity. But they haven't ruined the lines of the pistol by making some really ugly big safety catch. So whoever's designed this, great job, to be honest with you. So that's the Webley MkVI revolver, and just a little thing. Again, I think I said this a couple of weeks ago when we were shooting air pistol. I said, like, it's amazing how many people come into the shop and want an air pistol. And funnily enough, actually, since I've done that video, I have heard customers asking the same question.
Yeah.
Just to let you know that, again, we don't recommend any air pistol for doing any vermin control, apart from maybe the HW45, and that's at very close range. And there's one or two others. I think the 2240 Benjamin.
Yeah.
That's just about powerful enough to do like close range mice and rats and stuff like that. But when it comes to multi-shots, CO2 powered pistols are not the power.
No.
There's not enough power.
It's a novelty.
These things, on average, are doing about 1.5 to 2.5 foot-pounds. It just isn't enough. So if you do, if you are getting it into your head, I could do one of these just for dispatching vermin, don't bother. It will not do the job at all. These are purely a fun pistol, tin cans and targets in your back garden, and as long as you use them like that, then great. But and that's all I use that for. It's just a bit of plinking. And I must admit, I don't use it that often. I think I bought this more because I just wanted a Mark 6. Which might sound a bit sad to some people, but I've always liked the gun. I think it's a cherished piece of history. What can you tell me about it? Anything
bit of
else?
history on it. Well, it's based on the Webley revolver. Started about 1880 with the Mark 1. Went on through different versions. Mark 2 as the Boer War, so pretty much looking like that. This is the 1915 Mark 6, which went right through to 1947. So 1915, that means you're going to be looking at the First World War, the Irish Revolution, the Black and Tans. They all had these, an incredibly successful and long-lived pistol.
I don't know whether I've shown you this, and again, massive kudos for Webley for doing this, because they absolutely had no need, but they actually put the Small Arms Training Volume 1 pamphlet number 11 pistol.
Yeah, they've obviously found the original pamphlets.
And that is the original Small Arms Training. And do you know what? It's interesting, but it doesn't have any effect for the pistol. It doesn't have any effect. It's just I just thought that was I
know it would have been a Mark 1 at Rorke's Drift, or because Rorke's Drift was before all that, but when he loaded his Webley pistol with his hand shaking, you can in the film Zulu, he's trying to get his pistol loaded with his 4.55 Webley cartridges, and
there's some lovely figures in here as well. I just know, look, that one there. So if you're dressed up in your military uniform,
we'll put this up so you can see it.
We'll show you all that. But lovely, and actually, apart from that, you do get again Webley, lovely, excellent user manual. Very, very simple and straightforward. This one, by the way, I'm sorry I haven't told you, it runs off 12 grams CO2, which fits in the grip, so the grip just pops off the side, put the 12 gram in. I'm sure you know this, all the people watching this, but it's 12 grams CO2 powered, and just a lovely...
Single and double action.
Yep.
Which is correct. Trigger's relatively light and better than the original.
It's excellent, actually.
The original had a really heavy trigger, I think for safety reasons, because there was no safety other than the trigger.
Yeah.
So they had a humongous trigger on them, they were really quite a lot. And there was an Enfield version which had an even worse trigger. Enfield decided to copy, as they tended to do, commercially available pistols and then get sued by whoever and pay up some royalties.
Right.
That's how the government worked back in the 1900s, what's-its. But what a nice piece of engineering. Love it.
I think it's lovely. Yeah. Okay, so that's the Webley Mark 6 revolver, and that's available 6mm, 177 BB, 177 pellet. They do different finishes. They do a ridiculous chrome one. I don't think you've seen that. Proper blingy. Yeah. They do a chrome one. They do a battlefield finish, which looks like it's just been thrown down the road, which actually looks really good, to be honest with you. The battlefield finish, they're doing a good job. And available, they start off around about £150, and I think the pellet one goes up to around about 200. So not horrendous. Nice piece of history. There you go. Well, I think that's us for today. We're going to go and have a barbecue now in this fantastic weather, aren't we? So barbecue and a few beers. Definitely, yeah. So thank you very. Oh, I tell you what, as well. That there is a couple of bits. Have we got time to do this? We've got 1 minute. Neil Bannister, we had loads of suggestions on the Facebook, on the YouTube page and the Facebook page. Neil Bannister says, do a Top Gear style episode in which you both have a budget to get a second-hand rifle and then see whose one is the best one.
Right.
Might do that. I think
Yeah,
I like that, Neil.
Sounds okay. What's the budget, Neil? Tell us.
Actually, yeah. Tell us what the budget is. You decide, Neil, what the budget is, and we'll do that.
Make it low. Yeah.
And Robert Underwink Twilliger. That's an interesting name.
Good.
Very good.
Yeah.
He actually said, "Is there a video featuring the HR91 on YouTube?"
Not that I know of. I've never seen. I mean, it's quite a long time ago. We might be able to. Well, we just did the park.
There will.
We can find an HR91. It's not a problem. We'll put one on.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. So we're gonna.
HR81.
Actually, he said 91.
I know he did, but it's an HR81.
HR81 Sterling. So
yeah.
we're gonna root one of those out for you. I'm sure sooner or later we'll get one because obviously after that it sort of ties in a little bit. So we've got others as well, but like we haven't got time. We've run out of time. So thank you very much for watching.
Thank you.
I don't know. We'll be back. We'll be back fairly quickly. Actually,
we've got another one coming up.
We've got another one hopefully next week. Which there's a gentleman coming down who does some articles from for Airgun World and Airgun about disabled shooting and what have you. Really interesting guy. I think you'll really enjoy it actually. But yeah, come and watch us. A couple of weeks time at the most. Thank you very much.
See you soon.
See you soon. Bye now.
Hi, I'm Steve from the British Shooting Show. Come and see us in February next year, 2019. We'll have wider aisles, more space, and a bigger and better show. Thank you.